I just have to stay on the screen.
Yeah.
Hello, Purse Strings Group for Financially Fearless Women. Welcome
Hi,
to
everyone.
a beautiful Thursday.
Yes. Well, beautiful. It depends on how you call beautiful. The weather isn't that great here in Chicago, but we're having a good day and having some fun talking with our friend and colleague and Purse Strings approved professional, Gigi.
Hello, everybody.
Also, she's a master chef. We were just talking about that. And the cool thing is she's in a competition right now, so it's really heating up.
Gigi, give us some details about this competition.
Yeah.
So somebody had put my name in to compete in the competition, and it's all throughout the United States. And there are different tranches. There are 5 different categories. I am not a professional chef. I am a professional money manager. But I was good enough. I blog, I write my own recipes. I wrote a book back in 2012. And so I made one of the categories, and currently I'm in, oh, hello, Madison. Currently, I am in second place, and if I get to first in my category, I go on to the semifinals. So I get to compete against like just powerhouses around the country. And the main reason I decided to do it is because I wanted to bring limb awareness to people, because people, I was born without a left hand, and so were many, many people across the United States and the world. And it's not always looked at as a disability. Mm-hmm. So, they think, it's a little thing, you're missing fingers, but it's a big thing. There's not a lot that, there's a lot that I can't do. So by being in this contest, I'm able to bring awareness. And if I do win, I am going to create a curriculum to help people of all abilities cook, whether they have all their fingers or they're missing limbs or legs. So that's my goal for the contest.
That's awesome. We love it.
That's awesome. We are going to drop the link to put votes in for you into the comments on this stream, so people can go in and give some votes for you.
Thank you. So the one real quick thing to mention is you can vote once a day for free, or if you want to donate to Feeding America, every dollar that you put in towards Feeding America goes towards a vote towards me, but most importantly, it goes to helping the needy families across the United States.
Yeah, it's a great cause. Yeah. That's awesome. I think the whole thing is so cool, and I love watching it kind of continue on and see where you land, and you're doing such a great job. And of course, I follow your blog, and I guess I'll admit you are my personal finance person. So you are my Purse Strings approved provider, and longtime friend. So we've known each other a long time. So yeah, we're excited to have you on today to talk about 401ks, which some people might say, again, not a real sexy topic, but boy, can it help you in your financial endeavors, right? Exactly. So, and they get confusing. And what I hate is, 401k, like I said to you, where the heck did they come up with that name? Like, some very technical guru was like, and it's number 401, and we're going to stick a K on it for no reason at all. And so, why can't it be something more engaging? But it is what it is, 401k. There's a lot to discuss and a lot of unpacking around that you're going to give us all the info on. So I don't want to steal your thunder or Maggie's, so I'm going to stop and let you take it away, Mags.
Yeah, so let's give an introduction to Gigi before she gets started. So her mission is to understand you and your priorities, to take the time to ask hard, smart questions and to listen carefully, then to understand in great detail exactly where your wealth stands today and where you'd like it to be tomorrow. We create a recipe, gather ingredients, and monitor success. In addition to financial planning, she manages investment portfolios for individuals and 401k plans for businesses. She prepares retirement strategies that help clients think about, clarify, and establish investment plans and future income sources to achieve their financial goals to retire successfully. When appropriate, she will recommend insurance to meet her clients' goals. So with that, Gigi, we'll give you the floor.
Well, thank you, Maggie, and thank you, Barb, for the great introduction. Please excuse where I am. I am in Bradenton, Florida, for the month of March, and you are looking at my VRBO wall and bedroom. So there you have it. Our weather's a little bit warmer here in Florida than it is in the Chicagoland area. Well, I think the most important topic really is all around saving. And when it comes to a 401k plan, or more importantly, your retirement, the thing to remember is that you can't borrow for your retirement. You can borrow for college education. You can borrow for your home in the way of a mortgage. You can't borrow for your retirement. So it's really important to start as soon as possible. And even starting tomorrow is never too late, right? So there are a lot of different ways that you can save for your retirement. I would say, though, that the 401k plan is the easiest way. So what is a 401k and when did it begin? Well, the 401k plan started back in 1978. It was part of the Revenue Act that Congress had passed. And what it did was it allowed employees like us to put money away on a tax qualified basis. And I'll explain what that means in just a moment. In that was 1978. In 1980, Congress went a little bit further and they allowed employers to match those contributions. And then finally in 1981, and this is when 401k plans really took off. In 1981, Congress allowed for folks to put money into their 401k plans by way of payroll deduction. So that just made it almost like set and forget. Sign up and let that money start to work for you. So that's the beginning of the 401k plan. And 401k is just a section of the Internal Revenue Code that really falls in line in the book. So it just came into play with other plans such as IRAs and simple employee pension plans. So what is qualified money? What is non-qualified money? Qualified money is money that you put into a 401k plan, as we're mentioning, an IRA, or a simplified employee pension plan. It can also be considered the old-fashioned type of pension plan that some of you out there may still have, but many don't because they're very, very expensive and employers have done away with those. So that is what qualified money is. It grows within the plan itself, within the account itself, and you pay taxes when you take that money out. And that's a traditional type of qualified plan. So let's talk about retirement. When you're ready to retire, you may want to have sand between your toes. You might want to hike mountains in Arizona like my dear friend Denise. You may want to smell fresh mountain air. You may even want to just stay where you are right now to be with your grandchildren. What's most important, though, is that you save to get to that goal, to get to that type of lifestyle you want. So now that you know that you need to save and that you can't borrow, and you know what a qualified plan is, and you know where 401ks come from, well, now what? The next thing that you want to decide is where to save. You want to know how much to save and what type of investments to save in. There are two types of 401k plans. Lots of different providers out there, people who supply the 401k plan, whether it's Fidelity or Vanguard or Putnam Principal Financial Group, lots out there. What's important to understand, though, are the two different types of plans that are available to you as an employee or an employee owner. There's the traditional 401k plan, and then there's the Roth 401k plan. And I'm just going to take a minute to talk a little bit about the traditional 401k plan, because some of you out there may still not have the availability to jump into or invest for money into a Roth 401k plan. The traditional 401k plan the deferrals that you made are made before taxes. So what that means is every penny that you put into that traditional 401k plan reduces your tax base. And what that means to you is if you were bringing home, I'm going to use very simple numbers, $1,000 a month, and you put away $100 into this traditional 401k plan, you would pay taxes on that $900. So that $100 that you're putting away, that you're not paying taxes on, is going to feel like you're putting a little bit less than that $100, because at a 25% tax bracket, what's that feel like? That feels like you're putting away $75, even though you're putting away $100, because you're not going to feel that tax burden. And in general, that is the main difference between that traditional 401k and the Roth. You put that money in, and it goes in before taxes. It grows throughout the life of it being in that account. It grows without taxes until you take that money out. And I'm going to talk in a few minutes about how to best, or how to consider, and the 4 different ways that you can take money out of a 401k. And we're going to hit that in just a few minutes. So that's the traditional 401k plan. On the Roth 401k plan, I think it's about 9 years new now. We're adding more and more of the Roth component to the 401k plan every year. I am constantly talking to employers, and I'm working with employers to get them to add that component. It's a simple thing to do. So if you don't have a Roth IRA at your employ, don't be shy. Go to your human resources folks and ask them if you can add a Roth IRA. Oftentimes, they don't even, or aren't aware that they can add it once the plan is started. But let's get back to you. That's the most important thing. And the Roth IRA, now you've got the Roth IRA, and you're making those contributions after taxes. So what that means to you is you pay the tax on that $100, if we're going to use that same example. You're going to pay the tax on that $100. It goes into the Roth component, and we always separate the traditional IRA from the Roth IRA because of the tax differences. So it goes into that Roth component, into those investments, and it grows same way, income tax free, okay? And as long as it stays in that account until you're at least 59 and a half, and I'll talk about this more in detail in a few minutes, when you take it out under certain guidelines, you have had to have had the account for 5 years and be 59 and a half years old. You don't pay taxes. That's right. So you pay taxes up front at the smaller amount. So if that $100 grows to be $10,000 in 30 years, which by the way can happen, you take that out. You take that $30,000 out to use to live without tax. Again, as long as you're 59 and a half, and as long as you've had the account open for 5 years. So the Roth is really an incredible tax vehicle. And part of the reason Congress is allowing this and has allowed it is not enough people are saving, and there's an undue tax burden put onto Social Security. And so under those kind of this predicament, if you will, Congress wants us to do a better job at saving. They want us to be able to rely less on Social Security. It will be there. It will definitely be there, but we just don't know, will it be there into perpetuity? So again, we need to save into these different components. So let's talk now that you know about the traditional 401k plan and you know a bit about the Roth plan, let's talk about what the next steps are. As I mentioned, it's where do you put your money? The 401k that's a Roth or the 401k that's traditional? Next question is, how much should you defer? The third question is going to be, how do you invest the money? So let's get back to that all important, how much do we defer? People say to me, oh, well, I read that this person said I should put 10% away. Somebody else will say, oh, no, you need to put away 20%. Really, people, ladies, it's a personal choice. Every one of us has a different phase of life that we're in, or maybe we're caring for children, maybe we're working part-time, maybe we're not working right now, right? So how much do you put in? The thing that's been so great with technology over the last several years is the fact that so many of these 401k providers have calculators. And the calculators allow you to jump online, put in your details, how much you make, what your tax status is. Are you at the 25% tax bracket? Are you higher? Are you lower? And then what you can do is you can say, I want to retire at this age, or I want this amount of money. The calculators work in a lot of different ways. And what it does is it allows you to then come up with a number that may work for you. So that number could be 7%. That number could be 20%. Somebody that's making $400,000 can put away, or that 10% is going to be a lot more than somebody who is working part-time raising a family. So they may want to put away a little less or a little bit more. So it's interesting the way the numbers work. What I will say to you today is the most important thing is to start. And the second most important thing is to, when you go to calculate how much you want to defer, it's really important that, if possible, if you're not entirely sure how it's going to feel after taxes, you've done the calculator and you're still a little nervous, I would urge you to put away a little bit more than you think you can afford. Just a little bit more, whether it's 1% more, 2 or 3% more. Because what I can tell you in my 29 years of doing this, being in this business as a wealth advisor, managing money for folks, is I have only had it happen once where somebody said, I need to reduce my deferral. And the reason that she had to do that is because she had had a consequence at home where, unfortunately, her husband had lost his job and she had to decrease it. It was a hard thing for her to do. She did it, but then 6 months later, she was able to adjust that deferral. So that's the one thing I'd like to stress to you all, and that is to put away a little bit more than you think, especially on the traditional IRA side. And that is because of that tax savings. Traditional versus Roth 401k, how much should you be putting in both? Well, really, there's so much to talk about. And unfortunately, I can't give tax advice. But what I do often suggest is that a client consider putting 2/3 into the traditional and 1/3, if you will, or 75% into the traditional IRA. Those are easier numbers. And 25% into the Roth 401k, just as a start. Now, the thing that's great about so many of these plans is once you've met the eligibility requirements, and every employer has different eligibility requirements. Some employers will say, oh, day one, you can jump into the 401k plan. Some will say it's the first day after waiting for 30 days. And still others, unfortunately, have a 1-year wait. The second requirement that I see typically is that you have to be age 21 and a non-union employee in order to join the plan. And that is because union employees usually have their own pension and 401k planning. So those are the requirements typically that we see. And if you have a requirement that you're not sure of, feel free to reach out to me, shoot me an email, give me a call, and I'll see if I can't help you through that. But in general, those are the requirements that we see. So once you're in that plan and you're eligible, and then secondarily, once you know where you're going to go, you're going to put some in your Roth, you're going to put some in your 401k. The third question, as I mentioned a moment ago, is how are you going to invest it? Are you conservative? Do you not want to lose a penny? Are you super aggressive? Let it ride. I've got lots and lots and lots of time. Or are you somewhere in between, right? So those are the things that you want to consider. And the other neat thing that these 401k plans have, if you're not quite sure, gosh, where am I? Am I in the middle? Am I more conservative? Should I be a little bit more aggressive? That kind of, if those are the questions you're having, like the calculator I mentioned before that can help you with your deferral percentage, there are great calculators, and you can even Google these, guys. You can Google 401k calculator. You can Google risk tolerance. But 99.9% of the time, your 401k provider is going to have an online calculator. It's 4 or 5 questions. You can't flunk the quiz, I promise. And it'll tell you what type of investor you are, whether you're aggressive, whether you're conservative, or whether you're somewhere in the middle, right? So once you know that, you're able to then employ the different types of 401k investments that they have in the plan. Every 401k plan is a little bit different. They do have to follow regulations. We do have to have target date investments, and a target date investment is an investment that you can invest in based on the year or the couple of years where you plan to retire. What happens then is that follows your life as long as you're in that 401k plan, and it becomes a little bit more conservative as time goes on, to the point when you're 60, 65, it may be way too conservative. So you need to be careful with your target dates just to make sure that it's not too conservative. Of course, this is me, somebody who's watched the market for a long, long time, and I'm a firm believer of being a little bit more stock heavy when possible. Happy to talk to you about that too. So then the question becomes, what should you be investing in? When we talk about those target dates, that's one option. A second option is oftentimes there will be a model, it's called a model portfolio. And that model portfolio, folks like me put these together when we're building 401k plans for our employer clients. And we put those together using the best of breed of the funds that we have in the plan. And this allows us to put together these, they're called model portfolios. So you can look for those. And they go all the way from super duper conservative all the way up to the most aggressive. Super conservative is usually 100% in bonds, money market instruments, and 100% aggressive is going to have an amalgamation of different types of all stock. Okay, so you invest in those based on what your risk propensity is. Okay, the one thing that I really want to stress is that it's not you retire at 55 or 65 and life stops. You need money. You need your money, your investments to last for a solid 3 to 4 decades after you retire. I have a client right now, 99 years old. I just sent her flowers for her birthday this past February. And she said to me, Gigi, if I ever would have thought that I would be 99 knocking on 100 and that my money would last, I would have never believed it. But you have to note, anybody right now, the age of 50, I think it's the age 50 or 45, who's made it this far is very likely going to make it to age 100. We're going to have a lot of centurions living with us. And that is because of the advent of medicine, it is technology, and you know what? We're taking much better care of ourselves. So please understand that when you go to retire, life doesn't stop. You're going to want to go out for dinner. You're going to want to go to the theater when we get to go again. You're going to want to be able to spoil those grandbabies. And you're going to want to be able to take a trip when you want to take a trip. So, hooray. You all know so much about 401k plan, or at least enough to jump in and do what you need to do. I wanted to talk about a couple of other things. What happens if you're in between successes? Maybe you've lost your job, or you've decided that you need to look for something else and you're unemployed. You have 4 different options, as I mentioned earlier. 4 different options on what you can do with that money. If you have $5,000 in that 401k plan, and that's a regulation across the board, employers have to keep your money in the plan if you're at least $5,000. Your first option is you can just leave it right there. You can keep it in that 401k plan. You can keep it invested. You can't add any more money to it, but you can keep it parked there for a while. The second option is that you can take that 401k money, whether it's $2,000 or $3,000 or $3 million, and you can roll that into an IRA. And what you do with that is you can, one platform that I love, and it's actually Fidelity, and it's run by Abby Johnson, the female CEO, and she has actually taken the chassis of Fidelity.com, and she has made it so user-friendly and geared towards women. So if any of you guys trade through Fidelity, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's bright green, it's super easy. I have my personal money there, but you can go anywhere. You can go to E-Trade, you can go to Fidelity, Vanguard, you can go to Chase. If you have a banker that you like and trust, you can go open up an IRA at Chase. All I'm saying is that you have lots and lots of different options. Of course, you can always work with an advisor as well. So that's the second option. First option, leave your money where it is. Second option, roll it into an IRA. The third option is you can roll it into, you've got a new job and you're starting a new job and you are now eligible for that. You can take that money from that 401k plan that you kept there and you can roll it into your new employer's 401k plan. And if you feel good about the 401k plan, you like the investment options, absolutely. As long as it's a good plan and affordable, I recommend you roll it into that 401k plan. And the reason is because you can borrow from a 401k plan. I hate to say it, I hate to admit it, but you cannot borrow from an IRA. You can borrow from a 401k plan as long as the employer allows it. And then the fourth option, which is really not an option, but it's an option, and that is to take your money out of the 401k plan. You're going to pay a 20% penalty if you're under the age of 59 and a half, and you're going to pay a 10% excise tax. So 30% of your hard-earned, hard-saved money goes over to Uncle Sam. We don't want that. If you can do anything possible not to do that, please. It is so difficult to save into qualified money. Again, qualified money is money that is under an umbrella that allows those investments to grow income tax-free until you take them out. If it's traditional 401k or traditional IRA, you're going to pay tax at ordinary income. If it's a Roth and you've had it for 5 years and you're 59 and a half, no tax, just as a refresher there. So let's talk about the final sort of the piece de resistance as far as we're concerned, working moms and women. And that is, what if you stay home to raise your kids? Or what if you just, you've got the luxury of being able to stay home? What do you do now? How do you continue to save? Well, you do something. If you're married, you have a spouse, you can actually put $6,000 away if you're under the age of 50, or $7,000, and this is all for 2021. It's the same as it was for 2020. Every few years that is increased by inflation, but for 2021 it wasn't increased. So it's $6,000 into a traditional or Roth, $7,000 if you're over the age of 50. But if your spouse is working, he or she can actually then contribute. They can give you the money. You can open up that Fidelity account or that Vanguard account, And you can do something called a spousal IRA. It's in your name, though. It's in your name. It's your money. And that's important. So just because it's called a spousal IRA doesn't mean anything. It means you're the smart cookie that decided to open up the account and put that deposit in it and invest according to your risk tolerance. And that's what the spousal IRA is all about. One other thing to mention that I don't think I touched on, and that is in terms of the amount that you can defer for this year, it's the same as it was last year, same thing, $19,500 annually if you're under the age of 50. And if you're over the age of 50, you can put in an additional $6,500 for a total of $26,000. So that's a big deal. If you can put away that, oh my gosh, I completely commend you for doing so. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is regarding the deferral percentages, it's about the match. If your employer is matching, you want to be able to at least put the minimum away to capture that match. And a match is something that is done on the end of the employer, and they will match you. Usually it's a percentage. And typically I see oftentimes 3% of the amount you put away. And the formula goes like this: 50% of the first 6% you put away. So what that means is it's 3%, but the only way you get that full match is if you're putting away that full 6%. So be sure to understand what that employer's match is telling you so that you can take advantage of it. But I urge and encourage you to put as much as possibly away, because to end on the same note that I said in the beginning, we can borrow for our kids' education, we can borrow for our home, we can't borrow for our retirement. So that's what I have to say about 401k plans and qualified and non-qualified money.
Awesome, Gigi. That was great information. I was all about it because I have some money from a previous job and had no idea what to do with it, you know. So we'd love anybody on to submit their questions, but we do have some lined up for you. So my first question is for you, is that when you say that the maximum is the $19,000 you can save per year, is that including the match?
Actually, no.
Okay.
Not. The match is above and beyond that. There are some pretty complicated rules that follow that.
Mm-hmm.
There are different tranches of money, but no, that's the amount that you can put away as an individual. Great question.
Awesome. And then could you dive into a little bit of what an IRA is and how that's different from a 401k?
Sure, yeah. IRA is individual retirement account, and again, it's one of those things, at least this makes sense, like 401k, who the heck knows what that means, like what Barbara was saying earlier. With an individual retirement account, it was, I don't remember exactly when it was passed, but it is only dissimilar from the standpoint that you don't need an employer to sponsor the plan on the employee's behalf. You can go anywhere as long as you're making money, and you can put money into the account. If you're making $6,000, you can put all $6,000 into it. But if you are not married and you're part-time and in between classes and you're going to school and you've made $4,000, you can only put that $4,000 into it.
Okay.
Okay. So the main difference is the employer sponsors that Roth and that traditional 401k, and you as the individual have the IRA.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then when you put your money into a 401k, is this like a percentage they pay you earn, or do they just put it in the market for you, or how does that work when you give it to the imaginary 401k?
So maybe I should digress for just a second, because it could seem like a really weird, like imaginary account that your money is going into, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can't figure out how to get my glasses straight. So what happens is you have an individual account at that sponsor, right? So the employer can't get to your money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really important. It's a separate trust that's set up. So when you give your money, let's say it's 10% of your income and you're excited and you're starting, what happens is you're going to have options that the employer is going to give you. And oftentimes you're going to have folks behind the scenes like me who are going to be choosing the best of breed investments for you as employees. And your employer has really a big responsibility. They have a fiduciary responsibility to you, the employee, to make sure that they've got really good investments. Unfortunately, it doesn't always happen that way, but mostly employers do a very, very good job. So what they have to do is they have to have conservative investments, they have to have aggressive investments, and they have to have in-between investments. So they have to give you enough choices so that you can invest in the way that makes sense for you. So when we go back to when I mentioned those calculators and that risk tolerance test, I have not seen a 401k that hasn't had that yet, at least in the last decade, right?
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so I go out there and I compete and I'm still winning business on these 401k plans, right? Girl power. So when I do that, I am looking at those investments. Are they expensive? Are they not expensive? But the most important thing is when you do that risk tolerance quiz, that will tell you, that'll say, you're aggressive or you're in the middle and you should have 40% in bonds. You should have 60% equities, or maybe you should have, and by the way, equities is a fancy word for stock market.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so in the stock market, should you have some money outside of the United States? That's called an international fund. Or do you want to mix it together and have a global fund? And global just means the world, it includes us, the United States. Right? That's the difference, because some people get thrown off by that, and I don't blame them.
Definitely, yeah.
Look at it. But that's really how you do it. So you're in charge of investing it the way that you see fit and that works for you. Just please don't get lazy. Check your money. Don't just put it into a money market. Talk to your girlfriends. Use Google. Call me. Talk. Your employer cannot give you advice, by the way.
Interesting.
It's a no-no. It's illegal. So you want to talk to the financial advisor. If you have a financial planner or advisor that stands up every year in front of you and talks about your 401k, that's like what I do. I get lots of questions afterwards, and I'm happy as the fiduciary to answer those questions.
And then do you recommend consolidating previous sponsored 401ks into one, or do you recommend leaving them at your old company?
Well, I'm biased, right? So I like the idea of taking everything, consolidating it, and having it in your own name, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's in your name at ABC or AbbVie or Abbott or Reynolds down the street. But there's the investment committee who's taking care of those investments in the background, and usually they're doing a great job. But I love the idea of consolidating everything, having it in IRA. You're getting one statement. You're able to make changes quickly. With everything that happened, in March with COVID last March, people weren't able to change or be malleable at all when you had to go to, and oh my gosh, what's my password? What's my username? So I really like the idea and encourage you to be aware of where your money is at all times.
That's great advice. And then another question that we have for you. Let me see where this is.
Love them.
So I know you're saying you can change your contributions. Can you change it at any time, or it's every 6 months, or can you change your contribution month to month? How does that work?
Most sponsors allow you to do it when it makes sense for you, right? Because we don't know what kind of family challenges we're going to have or what happens in life or a sickness. Right. But mostly you can change it. And at the very least, what I've seen is you could change it on a per payroll basis.
Okay.
Okay. Can I digress on that for a minute?
Please.
Okay. So the other thing is what will happen is relative to your investing, you can't be changing your investing every day because you're going to get a call, a knock on the door, and they're going to say, you are trading, and this is, you're trading these stocks and this is not going to work. So they will block your account. So if you want to get fancy and have a lot of fun with money, do that outside of your 401k plan.
That's good to know. And then why do you recommend that people do a traditional 401k and a Roth 401k instead of doing all Roth? Because to me that sounds better, take the taxes out, earn a bunch of money, but you said split it. Why would that be?
Well, I say mostly split, but I appreciate that. It really depends on the client's circumstances. Mm-hmm. Maggie, you go, girl. If you can put all your money in a Roth IRA, go do it. Absolutely do it. I have all my kids. I have 3 boys. All of them are in Roth IRAs.
Okay.
And I happen to be, unfortunately or fortunately, it's a good problem to have in a very high tax bracket. Mm-hmm. So I do need that, because what happens for me is between my husband and I manage his money and their 401k too, is for them, I look at our tax bracket. And if we can, between the two of us, if there's a certain amount that we can defer to bring us down to that next tier, it's probably going to be more of a problem in the next couple of years with tax changes happening, but you want to kind of look at that. So if we're above a certain bracket, then I'm like, oh no, we need to put more into the traditional.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I usually, when I'm working with my clients, who, by the way, are mostly fearless women, like 95%, when we're talking, we go over those gymnastics, those mental gymnastics, and then I have them talk to their tax advisor, because I'm a chartered financial consultant and a CLU, chartered life underwriter, and I am a financial planner. So by way of my CHFC charter, I'm not allowed to give tax advice, but I can give guidance and even talk with clients, CPAs.
Okay, that sounds great. And then, as sad as it is, the great divorce is hitting hard. What is the best way for women? A lot of women stay at home and say, he's going to have our 401k. If people got divorced, would they get any of that 401k that he said that's in his name and we didn't do a spousal 401k?
Oh, yeah, girl. Oh, yeah. You know what? Something happens like that, you absolutely would get half, if not more, depending on how long you've been married, and depending on your children, everything else. Also, it's very good. You want cash in hand. God forbid you're going through a divorce. I've been divorced. I know the gray divorce and the black side of divorce. And I've been through it with many, many, many of my clients. And while you want some cash in hand, do not let him negotiate having more of that qualified money. Because that qualified money, again, what's qualified money? It's any money that has a tax status of not being taxed, so you take it out, unless it's a Roth, you don't pay tax. What happens is that's really hard to get. It's really hard to grow, right? If you can, this is going to sound kooky, but if you can only put $26,000 away as you get close to retirement, that can grow a lot. If you can only put $6,000 away into an IRA, it takes a long time to build up, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Along with growth. So, yeah, you are entitled to half, if not more, of that qualified money.
That's great to know. It's really good. I think I'm out of questions from coming from here, but I'm going to bring in Dr. Barb to talk a little bit more with us.
I've been listening very intently. Maggie had some great questions for you. Some of them I had as well, but you've been answering them wonderfully. So you've really unpacked the whole mystery behind this, what we call 401k. 401k. But it's so important to know because, I mean, not everybody has one, but if you have one, it's important to know. And I think they've kind of changed over the years in terms of the investments. So what are the materials that you get from your employer to know what your investments are? Do you just go online to a site, or how do you go about looking at what your investment selections are?
Oh, fantastic question. And it really, again, I'm going to digress. I'm going to answer your question and tell you guys all something super important. I mean, everything we've been talking about is super important, but something that's really in terms of your cyber safety. So you always want to go online and you want to look at what the investments are. And the reason that you want to do that is because they're more up to date than the paperwork. Oftentimes your employer, when you join employment, they'll give you a package, and that package will say, hey, welcome, Dr. Barb, and, we're so excited to have you. Here's your health insurance, here's your 401k, here's all of this. And it will give you that 401k URL. So you want to go on and you want to set up your username and PIN. And I cannot emphasize enough how important this is, because guess what? You don't set up your username and PIN, someone else may. Mm-hmm. So when you go to jump on, your money is in there. You want to set up that username and PIN, even if you're only putting away 1 or 2%, or you're hopefully putting enough away to capture that employer match, right? Mm-hmm. So those are the two ways: online, username and PIN. The second way is when you get that package from your employer. They will have the risk tolerance test, usually is in paper for folks who maybe are not technologically savvy, or they'll also have those investments. But they do change. So, for example, when we're doing our 401k plans, we will put certain funds on the watch list for certain criteria, and sometimes then we will remove that fund and replace it with a cheaper, better, stronger, faster fund.
Got it. Great to know. Yeah, I think those are all great questions, great answers. I took copious notes, and we're going to create the step-by-step. So Max, you can take it away with that.
Yeah, I have one more last question, and that'd be Gigi. What services would you provide if someone came to you? What would be the reason someone would come to you versus just going online and making a Fidelity account?
I think it's really about level of confidence and level of the time that you have, right? So if you're, like many of my clients are collaborators, right? So they come to me, many of these folks started out with me in their 20s and now they're in their 50s, right? Wow. So they come to me and we talk it through and we collaborate. It's sort of and sometimes it's around adjusting. Gigi, well, I think I should do this. I'm like, well, I think you should do this, but here's why. And it becomes a team moment. So oftentimes it's working with women when they want to collaborate, because I'm going to be more money, usually 1% to 1.5% more than if you just go to Fidelity and you buy a number of electronically traded funds. But I am going to tell you how it is. I'm going to tell you how much you need to save and why. I had a client, she was being funny, but I need to share it with you ladies. She sent me a text and she goes, okay, we've talked about emergency funds. We talked about financial planning. I know I've got all my ducks in a row, but is a shoe sale at Nordstrom's an emergency?
Yes,
said,
yes, it is.
It is not an emergency, but people come to me because I help them with the financial planning aspect, as well as give them that gritty advice about, yes, you do need to do this. This is what you need to do. You need to save this money so you're not flipping burgers at Mickey D's at age 80. So some people have the discipline to do that themselves, and I say, you don't need me. I'm there more. I work with a lot of folks who are either early on and they are daughters of clients of mine or sons. I work with men too. I love men, but I predominantly, my mission in life is to help busy women. That's my mission. and I'm digressing again, but essentially it's just, if you need help, you want some hand holding, you need that collaboration, and you want financial planning, that's when you would come to me.
And would people pay you as per session or a percentage, or how would that work?
Well, typically what happens is I have folks call and meet with me. Now we're doing Zoom. We're still doing Zoom. Our office probably isn't going to be open until September. And we're in Deerfield, Illinois. And I have clients in 17 different states. So I've been doing Zoom for a long time. And I usually like to talk to them. And I have worked with so many young women starting out, and I will say, hey, let's talk about your risk. And I told them, I've said, here, this is what you need to do, because they don't need me yet.
Mm-hmm.
Some folks, though, are, maybe they have a little bit more money to manage. Maybe they've got a very complicated situation, and they'll come to me. If it's moving their money over to me, it's a percentage that I charge. And it depends. It's a declining scale based on how much money you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's full transparency. There's nothing to hide. People know exactly what they get when they work with me.
Definitely.
And then the second way, or the third way rather, is to you can do fee-based financial planning with me, and that's a straight up fee. And it depends. We have 3 different structures depending on how complicated the planning is. And I will say, on the fee-based planning, I get a lot of my clients through Facebook, through the Facebook Professional Moms Group, Facebook, North Shore, that kind of thing. But it's really a matter of just having a quick conversation or a longer conversation to see if we're a good fit. Mm-hmm. Because you have to feel safe. Mm-hmm. You have to feel really safe. You have to feel good, and you have to feel like that advisor has your back, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I do my very best never to use acronyms. First of all, I have a learning disability against acronyms anyway. I don't even know half of my own acronyms after almost 30 years. But you have to feel really safe and comfortable with that person, and you have to feel, because I can be a little goofy and I like to have fun, and some people just really want to be serious. I'm not your girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Gigi. I mean, people know now what you do, what to expect, really how to prepare their 401k and get a financially fearless future.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate you coming on today. You can contact Gigi at GCG Financial or Gigi.Verrey.
It's long. It's Gigi.Verrey at GCGfinancial.com. Or, you know what, even if you just Google Gigi V, I pop right up just from my book and cooking, and I've done a lot of speaking over the years. So I usually should come right back up.
Awesome. She also has a page because she on our website because she is a Purse Strings approved provider. We wish you best of luck on your cooking competition. Thank you for coming on today. And we'll see everyone here next week, noon Central, for another conversation with a Purse Strings approved professional. So thank you again. We'll see everyone next week.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, Gigi.
Bye-bye.